Welcome to T-Bone Speaks with Dr. Tarun Agarwal, where our goal is to change the way you practice dentistry by helping you achieve clinical, financial, and personal balance. Now, here's your host, T-Bone.
Good week and welcome to another episode of the T-Bone Speaks podcast. I am your host, T-Bone, and remember I talked to you guys several weeks ago, maybe a few months ago actually, about how we're going through some coaching with my dear friend, Hollie Bryant, who is sitting here today. Hi, Hollie. How are you doing?
How are you?
You don't look like Meredith, just so you know.
I only wish.
And Hollie was supposed to be coming here, I think, in April, but then with all of the COVID and everything, we ended up pushing it to this time in early July. And I wanted to give you guys an update on where we're at and how things are going. And, that's pretty much it. So this week we're going to focus on talking a little bit about my dental practice, some opportunities, maybe some challenges. We're going to try to keep it short and sweet, which is a challenge for both of us.
Of course it is.
So Hollie, talk to us about you. What do you do?
What do I do?
Yeah.
Well, I put up with people like you.
That's your job, right?
It is my job. Coaching practices, growing them, discovering talents that they have, and basically taking care of the CEO and really helping him to implement the vision that he has. Yeah. So people hate the word consulting. Right. It has a negative connotation. So let's just call it coaching. Let's call it, what are we going to call it?
Well, I kind of think of you more as like a virtual business manager in a sense. Okay. In other words, there, as many people look at me and think I'm very good at what I do, there are areas within my practice that I struggle too. And most of those areas I struggle have a lot to do with not seeing things from the outside.
Correct.
And having some biases or even some weak spots for team members or weak spots for this and that. And so I look at you as, here's what I want to get to. Can you help me get there? Can we help implement these things? And then I look at it also as I need somebody to hold me accountable without me running over them. And so that's kind of where we're at.
I'm equally stubborn, right?
Yeah, but maybe more so than me. Right. I mean, you did good. You didn't eat bread last night.
I didn't.
Even though you let me eat it. Yeah.
Oh.
So anyway, this week, so you're back in for your second or maybe your third visit. I can't remember. So we had another time together. But briefly, so our practice has faced the challenges of COVID.
Like everyone. Like
everybody else. So without no more than 5 minutes, okay? What are you seeing in our office and many other offices from the COVID?
Well, the stress and anxiety of where do I put all these people?
Okay.
Right? Because I have 2 months of patients on top of the patients that are already scheduled. So we feel the anxiety of I've got to hurry and get them in.
Okay.
But the reality is we're not going to be able to get in 2 months of patients on top of the month we already have.
Yeah, and that's especially true in hygiene, I think, more so than the doctor's schedule.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Doctor, you have, you probably have 4 weeks.
Right.
To put into your schedule, to organize it over the next month.
Well, the doctor's schedule, most offices probably aren't booked out 2-3 months because COVID is a 2-month deal.
Yep.
So most of us weren't booked out. So we walked into a certain degree whenever we decided to open to an empty doctor schedule, but a full hygiene schedule and a backlog of 2 months of patients. So that's one thing. What do you think about team morale, team enthusiasm post-COVID? What do you think is going on there?
So first, number one is the team definitely has their anxieties and how the doctor comes in and what he's provided in terms of safety.
Okay.
Gives them the confidence.
The stupid PPE stuff.
PPE, but also how he feels about COVID. Okay. If he feels COVID is, if he's on I'm super high anxiety myself about COVID, then everybody in his office is high anxiety. If he is, okay, we're dealing with this, it's real, but we were trained to deal with this stuff. Right. Then the team has much more of a level-headed perspective of it because he feels safe. They then know that as they get back into work, they're feeling safe. So a couple, weeks go by and all of a sudden everybody starts settling in that, oh yeah, this is what I was meant to do with my life. This is my career. I'm good.
Well, I would say that what I experienced is that our team was trepid at first,
Absolutely.
but ready.
Yep.
That they were concerned about PPE, but they became relatively unconcerned about the excessive PPE pretty quickly. They're still concerned about patient contact and things like that. But what I noticed more than anything else is there was a fog in people for at least a couple of 3 weeks. They needed to get their legs underneath them. It's kind of like, sports people understand, like if you stop playing, like the NBA, you stop playing basketball, you got to get a little time to get your game legs under you. And I would say that they needed some time to get their game legs underneath them. And I think, about 6 weeks in now, we're starting to hit that stride again.
Right. We were ready to hear what we talked about today.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. People came back and we got COVID brain and I've been out of my routine, my normal. I created a different normal, Netflix and family and not really a sense of purpose. And now all of a sudden we come back and people need us. So they need us, and then we're trying to remember the systems that we had. I mean, literally 2 months of nothing.
Yeah.
And so, and then the team perspective is they all know each other and they love each other and they trust each other and they're a team, but yet we feel like strangers. We feel like we've been on vacation and everybody else has been together.
Right.
Right. And when you come back from your 1 week vacation, you're taking a day or two going, what all happened while I wasn't here? Well, everybody was isolated and everybody was on vacation, the Corona vacation. And then all of a sudden, now we're all back together and we're kind of strangers. And so we've had communication issues internally because we don't know if we can reach out and ask for help. Can you do the scan or can you help me here?
Yeah, that's all. You know how I feel about all that stuff. It drives me completely bonkers.
Right.
But okay, so enough COVID talk. We went over
Sure.
5 minutes, but nonetheless. So let's kind of focus on some opportunities that we see in my practice. We can talk about a lot of the challenges as well if they come up. But
Sure.
I think opportunities and challenges are the same thing, quite frankly.
Right.
Because when we're not doing something well, a challenge, that there is an opportunity on the other side of it if we choose to fix it. So I think the first thing that popped into my mind is I believe we have more than enough patients in our practice. And part of that has to do with that I want to clinically work 3 5-hour days. I want to have my practice open five days a week. And so the big question is what is the next step of handling the volume of patients and or being able to not have to have me come in more than, really it's just how do I not have to go in more than 15 hours a week?
Right. Well,
And I know some people think that's crazy, but I produce over half the revenue in our practice in those 15 hours per week. Which I thought was phenomenal to see.
it was awesome to be able to say
Yeah.
that, but it was awesome for the team to be able to look at that. And the truth of all of this is if you can do $100,000 a month and it only takes you
15 hours a week.
15 hours a week and you get a lunch break
Yeah.
and you get a nap and
No,
you
it's
get
six hours a day.
Yeah.
With a lunch break, so it's 5-hour work days.
and then you get to work on your other businesses too. Who wouldn't want that dream?
I get to spend an hour every morning on the porch with my wife, which is nice.
And you get to take your kids to school when they're
When they're school, yeah.
or you get to drop them off at
Or I get to
whatever.
go on my walk.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you built this life, but your challenge, the practice challenge, is this. There's an enormous amount of general dentistry to do,
Yeah.
more than the practice can handle. And yet there's enough implant dentistry and types of dentistry you want to do. So you're doing what you want to do. You can do more, but right now you're having to be a general dentist as well. And so it's the challenge of when's the right time to go ahead and take the leap and say, there's enough general dentistry coming in these doors that we need another general dentist.
Well, so I'm going to disagree a little bit.
Sure.
The ego is going to talk for a second.
Go for it.
I think we have more than enough general dentistry because I worked at an efficiency level and a get everything done in a single visit level that most people aren't capable or comfortable working at. So what takes somebody else maybe 2 or 3 visits to complete with their patient, I was completing in a single visit.
Agreed.
So I was able to do more general dentistry than most could in a normal time. And then I think the other part is as these niche parts of our practice grows, which is what I want to focus on, it does expose, that becomes a little bit more exposed there. So that's just my ego talking, okay? But so now we're talking about potentially adding another dentist.
Absolutely.
Okay, but then the common questions come up: is do we have the space? Okay, do we have the team? Do we have the patients? Like not patients, but patients, like the bodies, like the patient consumers, or do we go down a road of maybe shrinking our practice a little bit by dropping some insurance or things like that?
Right. So what's happening is, our action plan is to take you off one more insurance plan and really
when you say that, take me off, not the
just
practice.
you.
Yeah.
So Dr. A is going to come off and be down to 1.
Yeah.
The practice can be on the other 4.
Yeah. 5.
5.
Yeah.
And it can be determined on if both doctors take all 5 or one takes 3, one takes 5, whatever the level of their expertise are. So by doing that, we're doing it in a balance. That right. It's not we have high volume and high insurance. We actually don't have high volume and high insurance. You have a lot of out-of-network followers. Mm-hmm. You do a lot of dentistry to meet your numbers that are out-of-network patients. You're doing the type of care you want, but yet there's still this whole other part of your practice that needs to be cared for.
Yeah. So I think really what we're looking at here is, and it's an important point. I believe the senior / owner, whatever it is, as they bring in the first associate, you keep it status quo. As you get that first associate filled and you start doing more of the advanced procedures, as I talk about in our training and stuff, then I believe it's incumbent upon the senior doc or the owner doc to slowly personally drop some plans so that way you can create a greater value for your services. So Absolutely. I can charge the fees that I believe I deserve. That I can keep a reason for my patients to see the associates, soon to be partner in my case, so we can keep some of those things going. So I'm not a big fan of niching down the practice to where we say we're going to drop insurance across the board, because for a couple of reasons. One is it doesn't fit the vision I have.
Correct.
Okay, the vision I have, it's not a bad idea. The vision I have is 2 dentists doing all of the general dentistry and then some more, and then literally me focusing on the SOI, the sleep ortho implants, and that should be all I do. And then slowly but surely even giving some of that away Sure. to where maybe in my particular case, I want to focus on charitable dentistry for those less fortunate, or specific things like teachers and stuff like that. Those are important groups of people to me. So that's why I want to choose going down the path of adding another dentist. Like I didn't even consider going down the path of dropping insurance. It wasn't that.
Right.
Now, you said I was going to stay in one plan, and the reason I'm going to stay in one plan is because of Blue Cross Blue Shield. To be in their medical plan, I have to be in their dental plan. And I want to be in Blue Cross Blue Shield medical for the sheer volume of sleep devices and stuff we do in our practice. So it'd be nuts for me to drop Blue Cross Blue Shield medical, and therefore I'm forced into the dental plan.
Well, it's about strategy. Right. And the strategies that work for your business are not always going to be the same strategies someone else in another state or another city may use. But it's really knowing your why you're doing that plan, knowing your why you want to be in the network and someone else be out of the network. Yeah. And when the practice stays on the plan, we keep the bodies.
Yeah, they can come in and see us for hygiene. The whole I've seen nothing but positives. There's some bumps along the way,
Sure.
but I've seen nothing but overall positives from this. Now we've made the decision tree to go down the path of seriously looking for another dentist.
Right.
So now the question becomes: is the Indian, semi-conservative business side of me says we can support a part-time dentist.
Right. And then
the Hollie says,
right. The business coach says,
1
foot in the door and 1 foot out the door is you might as well have both feet out the door.
Right.
So sometimes we have to take a leap and stretch, knowing that you'll get her busy or him.
Yeah.
In
In my case, I hope it's a her.
I want it to be a her.
Yeah.
But
not being sexist, but
No.
we've got 2 brown guys in the practice. It's time to have a female in the practice.
absolutely. But the female attracts and accommodates in a whole different
Yeah.
group of bodies, consumers. Yeah. So I love that you're willing to take the risk.
So let's talk about that risk, okay? So let's walk through what that looks like, because
It looks like money. That's what it looks like ultimately. Every dentist that listens or team member that listens to this podcast is going to say, that's expensive.
sure it is,
Because
but it isn't.
that's initially where everybody's head goes.
So,
But what I say is it's expensive if you don't do it.
well, let's even not say that.
Okay.
Okay, because that's theoretical in a way, and people have a hard time understanding
Sure.
theoretical loss of money, right?
Absolutely.
The loss, cost of opportunity cost. People have a hard time understanding that. But so we went through it, and it didn't take me long. I said if I found the right person,
Right.
and what kept them from joining our office was part-time versus full-time, I'm in. I'll go full-time. But if I don't find the right person, I'm not going to settle for full-time in that case, because it doesn't make any sense to me.
Right.
Okay. So I want to be open to both options. Now, when we did the math, what I looked at, and I don't know if you noticed it when we met this one young lady, I just straight up said, what do you need to live?
Right.
Like, I just asked them, like, well, how much do you need to live?
That's a fair question.
And she gave me a number. So I did the math in my head, and it came out to be $15,000 a month. Okay. And so I look at it and I say, wow, I've got to come up with $15,000 a month. But that's not the real cost of bringing the other dentist in. Okay. So in my case, I think the only other cost I'm going to have is another assistant. Okay. So let's call that $20,000 a month total. Okay.
Sure.
So the cost of me bringing in another dentist, the risk I have to take is $20,000 per month, because I've already got the building. I've already got the equipment. I've already got everybody else, correct? I've already got everything else in place. Literally all I'm doing is plopping another dentist and an assistant in place.
And opening the schedule.
The schedule, right?
Right.
So let's even call it, so $20,000 fixed cost. So basically, in theory, all this person has to do to break me even is do $30,000 a month.
Absolutely.
Right? Because there's some cost of doing business, materials, stuff like that. So if I can, so now I got to look at it and say, okay, 20 days a month on average. They got to do $30,000. That's $1,500 a day. So can we get $1,500 a day out of hygiene with same day treatment?
Absolutely.
Could
Can
we
do
get
a crown?
Could we get 15? Well, not at my
Couple
MetLife
fillings.
fees, but yeah.
Couple fillings.
Yeah. Could
guard,
we
some
be
whitening.
available for more emergency care, which are typically extractions or root canal crowns?
Right.
So how do we get to that $30,000 number?
Sure.
Okay. And then even if we don't, I've got to believe that we're going to get there within 3 months, right?
Sure.
So maybe we're $10,000 short month 1. Maybe we're $10,000 month short month 2. But at some point we start. So I look at it as it's even though it's $20,000, it's really probably a $5,000 to $12,000 risk per month that I take. But the upside play on that is pretty big. Now, what's unique about me is I'm willing to take the haircut because I don't want to do any general dentistry, or minimal amount of general dentistry. So I can give off my schedule, which I firmly believe to succeed with a great associate is you're going to have to give them, you're going to have to feed them as well. So I just looked at it and I went to my wife and I said, hey, listen, just because I don't need that permission. I mean, the ego guy in me is saying that. But
He does need the permission.
I do because
You're partners. You
we're
need
partners.
the permission.
And so I said to her, listen, I'm not sure about this person, but I want to make my mind open to this. And I'm comfortable and ready for the 2-day-a-week part-time person, but I think I might have to go to 4 days to get to get the person I want. And it's going to be a $5,000 to $12,000 risk per month that we may not make.
Now, do you want to tell everybody what Mona said?
Oh, she said, sure, let's do it.
No, do you want to really tell them?
I'm a risk taker. What did she say?
It's a no-brainer. Why the hell are you asking me?
Well, because we got to ask, right?
But we do, because she's your partner,
Right.
and you want her support.
Absolutely, because it affects her.
But
Right.
but her support says every night, just go do that.
Yeah.
You know, go. You can move that dentistry. She's that kind of support for you.
And
So-
I'll argue if you got me out of the chair doing general dentistry, I'll sell so much more dentistry
Yeah,
if
you will.
I went like my most valuable area at the end of the day. I really believe this, and then we're going to move on to another topic if you don't have anything else to mention on this. But I believe my real value has nothing to do with the dentistry I do. It has everything to do with doing hygiene checks. My most valuable role would be the relationship role in the practice to do the diagnosis, to do the communication, and to help move patients forward in the dentistry. Because at the end of the day, there are lots of people that can do the dentistry I do, the clinical aspect of what I do, but there's fewer people that can really connect and communicate
Right.
with people. And I think that's the lost art in practices.
Absolutely. And you are a better for your team when you're the coach.
Right.
When you're there, when you're guiding, when you're accessible for them to ask you questions, and you even verbally coach them.
Yeah.
You're
Like
better.
today.
You're just better for it. And that in itself, you could maitre d' all the dentistry in the world, and you all could do $500,000 a month if you could work yourself out of that chair.
Yeah, if I could get and I by the way, I believe that is the case for so many dentists listening. So many of you listening to this podcast is that what is holding you back is spinning the handpiece.
Yep.
And really for a good percentage of you, you are better doing all the hygiene checks in your practice and then having other clinical people, the book smart people doing all the dentistry.
And I think sometimes ego stands in the way of that, because it's like, well, I've paid all this money to be a dentist.
Yeah.
I should spin this drill, and someone's going to judge me if I don't.
Well, screw those people that judge you don't pay your bills and don't create your lasting legacy and don't connect other people.
Sure.
So that's that.
So the more you can get out of your chair, and the more you can be there and be accessible to the team and to the patients to guide them to the right provider,
Yeah.
the more satisfying your practice will become for you, but the more satisfying your team will become, because they all want a piece of what you have.
Well, they want to grow, right?
Right.
They see the big picture. Hopefully they see the big picture opportunity.
They do.
And then I'll argue it creates so much flexibility in my life. You know, I bet you some of you are like, he's not a real dentist. He only works 15 hours, but yet you're jealous that I only work 15 hours a week. And the truth is I work a little bit more right now because I'm available for certain cases, and right now even non-certain cases, because I have a hard time as a business owner pushing people out 6-8 weeks. That's not healthy.
But that's not how you built your business.
Right.
So when COVID
Yeah.
is causing them 6-8 weeks out, it makes you feel bad.
Yeah, I'm going in on Thursdays now.
So that you can expedite that and get them in to where they still feel like you're accessible.
Yeah,
And you're not putting them off.
But it also goes to a bigger point where I believe in proof of concept. So the proof of concept is if I have to go in for another day, that means I need another dentist for that
Right.
day, correct?
Absolutely.
You know, and I would argue that if I go in for a full day, that we probably need 1.5 dentists, because typically speaking, associates aren't going to be as productive as
Sure.
the owner, 20-year experience owner dentist. So that's it. So one option is that we have more than enough patients. We have a lot of dentistry that needs to be done. Do we drop insurances and raise fees, which is a phenomenal option?
Sure.
Okay. Or the option I'm choosing is to bring in associates, bring in another provider, for me personally as the owner to drop insurance and to create more flexibility, because dropping the insurance and raising fees, while it does keep the revenue where I want it to be, it keeps me in the building, and that doesn't work for what I'm trying to accomplish. And that's my grief or gripe with the whole dropping insurance, raising your fees,
Sure.
because it still keeps you in the building. And my goal for other people is to get you out of the chair so that you can focus on either building your business or building another business or just spending time with family, whatever floats people's boats. The other area, number 2,
Number 2.
which I have struggled with for 20 years, Rachel Wall gives me a hard time all the time, is that my hygiene department is a massive source of opportunity.
It's a great source of opportunity. We have phenomenal hygienists.
How many quads of scaling have we done in our practice in the first 6 months?
We're not going to disclose that.
Why not? Go ahead, disclose it.
Let's not disclose it. Rachel will be disappointed, and the phone will start ringing
16?
immediately.
16 for the whole year so far?
For the year.
For 6 months, we did 16 quads. That's including partial quads, I think.
That does.
Yeah.
Because your
pretty
patients
poor.
are healthy.
My patients are getting quad scaled. They're getting scaled. I can promise you that.
So-
They're just not getting coded.
So lots of
scaling
opportunity in the hygiene department, lots of opportunity to get patients back into the schedule because, we've got to fill up August, September, October.
Yeah, so that's a good point
So-
we need to bring up. So one of the things that most of us are doing is we missed half of March, all of April, all of May, right? And then so we're working so hard to get these people back in.
Right.
But then what many of us aren't seeing is that 6 months from March is September, October, November. And if you go to those 3 months, you're going to see empty hygiene columns. And if you're so focused on the now, you're going to be in a world of hurt hygiene wise when October, November come around. So one of the things we're working on is it was an idea from today is we have roughly 1,000 patients
Yep.
who are
need.
overdue for recall within the last 18 months.
We
Okay,
have
in
a
other
need.
words, we saw them within the last 18 months, and they're not on the recall schedule. They're not scheduled for a recall appointment. We have 1,000 of those patients. So we're working on reactivating those patients, but with a purpose of scheduling them in September, October, so that way we can start to refill our hygiene book from the 6 months from the time that we missed there. So
And absolutely. And we have a couple of things that we have practices that are, who are insurance based that are backfilling it.
Mm-hmm.
So when they're rebooking the people in the door now, they're booking their next appointment in October, November.
Mm-hmm.
And just because the patient's allowed 2 cleanings a year.
yeah,
We have that. That's one
that's a
avenue.
pain in the butt to keep up with.
But it's one avenue. Next avenue is give everybody an appointment that's calling and saying I need to get scheduled. Give them the August, September, October appointment and put them on a priority list. Ms. Jones, I'm booking your appointment in August. If I have something come available before then, you are my priority.
In Eagles Health, that's call
Absolutely.
up sooner. Yeah.
ASAP, call sooner, whatever you want to call it. But we have that. And then don't take your new patient spots up with recall right now.
Yeah, we
People-
did that.
You did. And then other doctors are doing it too.
So
I'm
we-
spending money marketing, so my phone will ring, but I'm not booking those patients for 2 months because I'm so worried about my recall
I gotta
schedule.
I got to take fault on that to a certain degree because that was a lack of looking at the scoreboard on my end, right?
Right.
So on a typical month, our practice, Raleigh Dental Arts, averaged about 40 new hygiene patients per
Correct.
month. I only count hygiene patients as new patients. And so for the month of June 2020, we had 26, I believe. So what that told me is it's not because our phone's not ringing. It's that right now we're booking them 4 to 6 weeks out, which is totally against my philosophy.
Because you took your new patient coordinator and said, "Oh yeah, she has a license. Let me let her do recare."
Right. And I did it without complete guidance, and I did it without accountability, which is the real problem. Because, people want, when somebody calls, "Oh, I'm free, let's put them in." But we're not given that opportunity I think a new patient space should be held for a day or two only, beforehand. It shouldn't be given up 3 or 4 days before
No.
because a new patient will call today, and typically there's something that caused them to call, and we'd love to get them in. I'd love to get them in within a week.
And you know that, and that's one of the practice beliefs that we have. But yet, COVID gave us COVID brain to say, "Oh, but all these people, we've got to take care of all of our patients,"
Yeah.
and then we forget. But what? Wait a minute, I'm still paying for marketing
Yeah.
to make my phone ring, and my phone's still ringing. People want dentistry now more than more than before COVID almost.
I
It's
don't believe.
crazy.
Well,
It's up for debate,
Yeah.
but the people that are calling your office, they're quality patients. They have needs. They have high needs actually. And then here we are with high needs people, but yet we can't see them for
Yeah, a few months. So part of now the challenge here, okay, the opportunity is I have 1,000 of these patients, okay, but even if I put them in October, November, that's not enough.
Sure.
Okay, reasonably we can probably reactivate, let's say a third to, maybe a little bit more of them.
Well, when we look at what you have and break the 18 months and the 12 months out, 12 months, these are people who have been in for a cleaning.
Yeah, in the last 12 months we have 750.
Right. Those
in
are
18 months
actively,
we have 1,000, so that's 250 more.
So we have a higher success rate with people who have actually been in hygiene. They love your practice. They've had some work done. So the acquisition rate's a little higher, I believe. But even no matter what, you're still bringing in your 40 new patients a month that you love. You take those patients, they're going to need treatment. You convert your perio that actually needs perio.
It's a different story, different day.
Different story, different day. And then we look at, there's always consults acquisitioning over and our recall schedule. And then as we continue to revisit our perio guidelines, we'll then be able to convert our more patients to 3 months, 4 months, things like that. So a lot of things happening that are going to create a bigger need that by the first of the year, you're going to have another dental hygienist.
I know. So that was going to be my next point is part of the reason we have 1,000 patients overdue. I can diagnose my problem pretty well. Okay?
Yeah, you can.
So I can tell you there's several reasons. One is I'm running my practice on 2.25, maybe 2.5 hygienists, to a certain degree on purpose to try to prove a point. But
always about proving the point, right?
It is. So we have a little bit of a challenge, a capacity challenge there. It's a little bit, COVID isn't the excuse, but it's a little additive there. So that's one aspect. The other aspect of why we have 1,000 patients overdue is because we don't have enough front office people. We don't have somebody dedicated owning the outbound calls. We do pretty good on the inbound calls.
You do great on the inbound calls.
We're pretty good on the inbound calls, but we're not doing, I wouldn't even say we're mediocre at best on outbound calls in the sense that we don't make an effort. We have patients who literally call us to come in.
Right.
And so we're not making any effort on the outbound. So I'm going to go from 2 front office people and take the risk of going to a third front office person with the expectation that I believe from a top-down mentality that if I add the third person in the front with a specific goal of here are your 1,000 leads.
Absolutely.
Let's go and convert these leads, and then I'll create the space or I'll get the hygienist, which is a different challenge right now, getting hygienists, but I think we could make it happen because I have a hygienist that could add a day or whatever it may be. I believe I have enough team members that could, on a short-term basis, kind of add hours or add a day here or there to bump up our needs. So I want to prove the concept. So we're going to bring a third person in the front, and we're going to let them focus on getting our recall, doing the outbound. So I'm going to call that person my salesperson in a sense from a traditional business model. We create the leads and the hygiene and stuff, and this person their job is to cultivate those leads in an outgoing manner from recall and from non-scheduled treatment, and really work those patients to come back in.
Absolutely.
So that's how we're handling the hygiene department. And then the third one, which burns me up,
Absolutely.
because I speak so fondly of my team, and I love them. And I have phenomenal people, but we're not maximizing team potential right now. So that's another area that we have opportunity. And I want to be clear. I have a phenomenal top down. We have phenomenal people.
You have the right people.
We have
and you have.
They're not the best. They're not the worst.
No, they're the
right people for me. One, they fit our culture. My personality is different. They put up with some of the things, of where I'm trying to get to, and they have dreams and visions similar to mine, or at least they see those things. So we have the right team, but I want to get a little bit more. I want to squeeze that turnip a little bit more. So we're struggling in some areas. Talked about some of those areas where we're struggling or the opportunities that we have on maximizing team potential.
Well, we have the right team. We have the right attitudes. They all support the vision, but they all have additional training that maybe we forget about because we get so focused. People that, are Invisalign specialist. She also can be
A chairside
our
assistant.
chairside assistant. She also is amazing at administration and being able to be a part of that front desk team. We have our new patient coordinator, who's also a dental hygienist, who also can do great at Invisalign. We have so many cross-trained people, sometimes too cross-trained, because
Right.
we forget what all they can do. And that right there is really not tapping into, our Invisalign storefront's not doing as great as it should be doing.
Yeah, not good as great as it was last year, for sure.
Right. So Invisalign needs more focus, but it doesn't need a dedicated body like it did last year. Not right now.
Right.
So while we're ramping it back up, we need to maximize her potential with scanning and really converting dentistry.
Right.
So we have her. We have, our sleep department. It's doing really good.
Yeah.
Maybe it needs more help, more bodies so that it can do even better.
Right.
And really, we need to start working our 3-year list. We need to start digging into those leads harder, and that then grows sleep. So it's more of, we have all these great trained bodies who are amazing, and are we using them every day to their potential? And maybe I need to be this person this day, and then I need to wear a different hat the next day.
Or sometimes we need to shuffle people around because people
Right.
change, they grow, they adapt.
Absolutely.
So that's one aspect of it. But I think the other thing that we're struggling from a little bit is a common struggle is that we've gotten busy, and then when you get busy, you forget to do the things that got you busy.
Absolutely.
Right. And it's very cyclical, right? So then things slow down, and then you get back to doing the things that got you there, and then things pick back up, and you forget to do them. So I'm trying to get on to sleep and a clear aligner therapy that we need to block off X amount of time and effort on a weekly basis to build the business, to build our storefront, to use your term, and so. We're going to have to work on it. We're going to have to set the goals. We're going to have to set the boundaries, set a budget, and put the support in place so that we can do those things.
So it's consistency, and every business struggles with having consistent, accountable measures in place so that we all keep making sure that we're meeting that. And if we're not meeting them, change the directions, adjust the course, change the marketing, change the people, figure it out. And that's where you're great at it. But when you get busy being a dentist in the practice, you become really complacent with the numbers, and you struggle with doing the coaching part.
Yeah,
because you drill in teeth.
It's time. It's time, right?
So
another area of opportunity and maximizing team potential, and it was I don't know the word I'm looking for. It was a eye-opening, a realization for me today when I asked one of my hygienists, walk me through how you talk to this patient, and then I looked at her. I said, "Well, you're not there for the training we had," and she goes, "No," and everybody looks at me, "No." She came on after that. So what's happened is we've added, subtracted, through the normal turnover of team members, and not everybody is not rowing the same boat from a patient communication side of things. So we need to go back, we need to go back to the foundation. So I re-signed up for Paul's Hollie's online training course for all the team members, and we're going to again set the schedule that we're on this date. We're going to have this many modules done so that we can go back through, and that way some of them are going to hear it again, which I don't think is a bad idea, and some of the team members are going to hear it for the first time. And that's hopefully getting people back in. And then, I'm going to be there to coach and train them so that we're doing it the practice way. It's not about doing it just Paul's way. It's about doing those fundamental concepts, but within the framework of what works for my vision of a dental practice.
Sure, and every time you listen to Paul's courses, you learn something.
Yeah, I read his book every year.
Right.
So
the frustrating part as the owner and the CEO, you get frustrated and say, gosh, why do we keep doing the same thing? Because we need that same thing. Why do we keep talking about the schedule? Because the schedule is growing so much. We have to keep talking about the schedule. Why do we have to revisit this? Because we have 3 new team members. You're old, but they're new.
Right.
You've been doing it for 20 years.
I'm not that
but
old.
They've been doing it for 6 months. They've been doing it for 12 months. So that becomes a thing. It becomes a huge component of the practices because doctors get stuck wanting to know why they're not moving forward. But as we talked, you're moving exponentially forward in where you want to be. It just doesn't always feel like it.
Well, I think part to what you were saying is it's just a realization I had is as much as I complained, yelled, or whatever you want to call it, and I don't want to say I yelled at you, but I just,
Right.
I as I get more serious, my voice goes up. I was saying, how come we're going backwards? How come we're always doing the same things over and over again? But it's one of the same things I teach other dentists is review back. Go, ultimately,
Right.
there's like 4, 5, 6, whatever number you want to come up with, key fundamentals that you should never get past because you should be constantly revisiting those things. And if we look at it, we have made strides forward. Okay, we got through a tough time of 2 months. Everybody's back, right? We're added a new front office team member because we lost one there. We're adding another one, but clearly we have the business to do that. We're looking at hiring a dentist, so clearly we have the business to do that. And I've cut down on what works out to be an entire day. So instead of working 3 7-hour days, 21 hours, I'm now working 3 5-hour days, which is 15 hours. So that's 6 hours less, almost essentially a day. So I'm working 1 day less post-COVID than pre-COVID.
And we're at, 6 months into the year, and
Yeah.
all these things have happened.
Right,
You
Yeah.
took some risk early in the year.
right.
We took some risk on some team members that,
Didn't
You
pan
know,
out.
but it's the once in a while you have the weak spot.
Bad mistakes.
and
Yeah,
I am going to hire somebody that's got all these skills, and no dental, we'll see where it goes.
right.
It doesn't always work. Sometimes it does.
Well,
But-
it didn't work for this stage of my career.
and not for this stage of what you need for
and-
your business.
And where my practice was.
Yeah.
I didn't have that super strong person at the front that
Right.
had it, that could really teach it to everybody else.
You had a soft heart,
Yeah.
but your
Well,
practice had a strong need. And now here we are. Now we've got the strong need that the practice has. We have it replaced.
Right.
It's perfect. You came back from COVID far better than many doctors out there
Sure.
because you connected with your team, right?
Right.
You cared about them. You picked up the phone. You texted them. You stayed engaged on Slack. You did the things
We did
that
the Zoom calls, the whole
you
thing.
did.
Yeah.
You did the things you were supposed to do because you like your team, but also because you really cared for them and you wanted to make sure that they were happy and healthy and they were going to come back and your business was still going to be there. So you did what you needed to do during COVID. And that's far better than some people did. And then now being back, we're still on the same goals and the same growth that we started in 2020. And I'm confident that you're going to meet those metrics and actually exceed them. And I'm hoping that after this time together that you even see that you're going to exceed them. You're going to do things that weren't even on the list. We didn't have a third doctor on the list for this year.
No, we didn't. Yeah.
That was as the other opportunities and as the other needs were satisfied in the practice, it created more opportunities and it opened this up and all of a sudden, oh my gosh, we need this.
Yeah.
So we're farther in 2020 and we had a 2-month gap, but now we're farther into where we need to be for our goals than we thought we were going to be. And that's pretty exciting.
Yeah. It's good. It's good.
You're
It's
going to
just-
get a partner this year. Oh, geez.
knock on wood.
That's
all.
a whole series of podcasting.
Yeah.
That might be 12 episodes.
Well, it's
It's a leap.
it's a leap for everybody. Anytime you take, it's a marriage, and you go through your ups and downs. Am I doing the right thing? Am I not doing the right thing? All of that stuff, and ultimately, I think it'll be. I'm confident it'll be the right decision, and I think it'll free me up. Again, for me, everything's about flexibility. It'll free me up to be able to explore some other gifts and things I want to do, and so that's
But
important.
it'll give the team what they need.
Yeah,
And
I
they
wanna-
need to know that there's that person that's gonna be there. That's in it and believes in it and buys into it the same way you do.
Yeah.
So
We
we've
need
got
it.
it.
We got it. All right. Well, it's a good conversation, Holly. Not so bad. We stayed a little off track,
That's
but
all right.
40 minutes isn't too bad. So it's Holly Bryant at Bryant Consultants. How do people get in touch with you, Holly?
Call Dr. A.
Don't call me, please, for God's
Everybody
sakes.
calls Dr. A.
Don't call me.
Hey, Bryant Consultants, www.bryantconsultants.com, or Hollie, Hollie, at bryantconsultants.com. Or find me on Facebook. Find me on Instagram.
Are you on the gram?
I'm on the gram.
Yeah. So again, if you have questions, asktbone.com or telephone number 510-698-2663. As always, this podcast is brought to you by 3D Dentists. 3D Dentists is where we run our training programs. We're introducing a 3D printing class this year. I believe it's August 14th and 15th, led by none other than Sully Sullivan. And I'm excited for the 3D printing class because we've been doing some pretty interesting things with printing in our office, and I believe we're going to be doing same-day guards here very soon. Probably by end of August, I think we'll have that worked out.
You're going to be a student again.
Yeah, you're always a student.
You're always a student.
You got to stop. You never stop. So 3d-dentist.com. We look forward to you. And again, if you enjoyed our podcast, all you got to do is please leave us a review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to this podcast from. And of course, if you could do us a favor and help share and spread the message that we're trying to get out there, that dentistry doesn't have to be boring. Dentistry doesn't have to be you being stuck in the chair. It doesn't have to be you as a general dentist doing fillings and crowns forever. There's so much this phenomenal profession can afford us to do. So let's make the most of it. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next week on the T-Bone Speaks podcast.
Thanks so much for listening to T-Bone Speaks with Dr. Tarun Agarwal. Remember to keep striving for excellence, and we'll catch you on the next episode.